My husband hit me for the first time and I'm still in shock. My 23 female, husband 26 male and I have been married since February 2020. We joked when it happened that we had the perfect timing since a lot of my friends ended up with relationship strife and breakups over the last couple of years. Currently, we have one daughter who is 7 months old. I stay home with her most of the time. My husband works in management for an up-and-coming company and is often gone 9 to 10 hours a day, so I do all of the housework. This is usually totally fine with me. This week, I did a lot of cooking and baking and haven't been as diligent as I should have been with dishes. So I let them build up in the sink quite a bit. My husband mentioned it yesterday morning when he was grabbing coffee, and I told him I plan on doing them in the afternoon. He grumbled a little but didn't argue. Then, yesterday afternoon, I ended up getting a surprise visit from one of my friends who brought her 2-year-old for a playdate. Our kids love each other and always have a lot of fun, so that's how the afternoon passed. My friend left at 4:30 or so, and I immediately started dinner and the dishes. My husband got home at 5:30. Dinner was just finishing up. Dishes were about 75% done. I rinsed my hands and what was remaining in the sink, grabbing clean plates so we could eat. My husband said something to me like, "Couldn't even finish the dishes? What have you been doing all day?" Ooh, this is gonna get ugly. My husband and I like to tease each other good-naturedly, so I assumed this was more of the same. I said something like, "Dinner is ready and I like to eat it while it's hot for once in my life." My husband didn't say anything, but he did backhand me across the mouth and then he told me not to disrespect him again. I was in complete shock because he never acts this way. It was a complete 180 out of the blue. Even in arguments with men, I've never seen him threaten to raise a hand to them. I'm so confused and I'm scared to bring it up and I don't know what to do. How does a woman leave a man when she has no money, no income, no supportive family, and a kid? If not for our daughter, I think I would have told him to F off and walked out that exact moment. But my worst fear is her ending up homeless or worse, him getting full custody because I don't have a safe place to house her. My mom is my only living family and she's a barely functional alcoholic, so I'm not sure what she could do even if she wanted to. And then a part of me says that this is a huge overreaction and that my daughter would hate me for leaving her dad over one measly fight.
Storytime about how I caught my dad watching me while I changed. I think he's trying to gaslight me. I need help. Disclaimer, this is not my storytime, it's sent me on Instagram. I'm 17 years old, about to turn 18. My parents got a divorce when I was 13. My mom caught him cheating on her over several times. And one of the times, he even did it at home with some girl he met at a bar. Because of that, my mom told me not to ever trust him. But the way she would say things made me think that there was something else behind everything. After the divorce, my mom got full custody, thank God. This is when my mom told me that I needed to stay away from him. She told me that if I ever found myself alone with him, that I should just call her and tell her to pick me up. When I was 13, I never thought about it twice. After the divorce, my dad started dating a 19-year-old girl. Mind you, he was 46 at the time. When my mom found out, I remember she called him. She told him he was disgusting for dating someone that was 19. But my dad laughed on the phone and hung up on her. My mom didn't even know that I heard the conversation, but she had it on speaker, so I did. He did have rights to visitation though, so he would come over every Saturday and Sunday to visit me. But my mom never left us alone. But my dad has been giving me such weird vibes lately. When I bring it up to him, he says I'm hallucinating and imagining things. Hearts up. Storytime about how I caught my dad watching me change. I think he's trying to gaslight me. I need help. Disclaimers is not my storytime, it's sent me on Instagram. When I turned 15, I started growing more into my body. My boobula started growing in a little more. This is when I noticed that my dad would look at me a lot more when he would come over to visit me. But like I said, my mom never left us alone. This is also around the time that my dad started asking me if I was interested in boys, and that if I ever let a boy touch me before. But it's the way that he said it. It wasn't like in a fatherly way. It was in a gross, nosy way. As soon as he asked me that, my mom told him to stop talking to me like that. And she answered for me. She said, of course she doesn't let boys touch her, what do you expect? My dad laughed and said, okay, fine, just making sure. I was completely grossed out by my own father, ew. When I turned 16, my mom started letting me date, and this boy I really liked actually asked me out. I was really excited. I mean, he said he wanted to meet my mom. He came over on a Saturday and my mom made lunch for us. We had a really great time, but then my dad knocks on the door. By the way, he told us that he wasn't going to be able to come, which is why my mom invited my boyfriend in the first place. As soon as my dad comes in, he started acting jealous. Part 3 is up. Storytime about how I caught my dad watching me change. I think he's trying to gaslight me. I need help. Disclaimers in my storytime was sent me on Instagram. That's when my dad started acting all jealous when he saw my boyfriend. He took my mom into another room and said that I shouldn't have a boyfriend and that I was too young and that he would take advantage of me. But my mom stood her ground. She asked him politely to leave and he did. The following Saturday, my dad comes over to visit again. This time I was in my room changing. My mom told him that I was in my room changing, but she went to the kitchen. Obviously, this is when my dad comes upstairs. The door was slightly open and he could see inside. I was finishing putting on a t-shirt, and when I turn around, there he is looking. I screamed and told him that he scared me, and I told him, why are you watching me change? He said, you're crazy, I wasn't doing that. I said, yes you were, I just saw you. I was so weirded out. After he left, I asked my mom why she never leaves me alone with him. That's when she told me that he was accused of S-ing an underage girl. So I told my mom what happened. That's when she said he's never coming back to this house again. Now my dad is gaslighting both me and my mom. He even called me a liar and that I'm making it up. But my mom of course believes me. What should we do?
Storytime about my extremely creepy neighbors. So a little background information, I was 12 years old and I was in 6th grade, and my family and I lived in a really small town where everyone knew everyone. But our new neighbors had been building their house next to us for the past 4 years. And finally, when they were done with the house, this house was huge. I mean, probably because there were like 8 people moving into the house. There was the mom, the dad, 4 kids, and their grandparents. So like 8 people. But I was super excited because I was like, okay, this is awesome. I get to meet some new friends. But after 2 weeks of not seeing anybody playing in the backyard or anybody on the school bus, I started to think that their family was super fucking weird. And everyone in our neighborhood liked to gossip, and everyone was saying how they barely see the people who had just moved in. So my mom decided to take one for the team and make some brownies, take them over to the house, and I ended up going with her. So we go up to the house, we knock on the door, and one of the kids came and opened the door, but the dad ran over and grabbed him. Like for part 2. Part 2 about my extremely creepy neighbors. So like I said, my mom and I took some brownies over there, and one of the kids opened the door, and when he opened the door, he had a bunch of bruises all over his body. The dad came running over and ripped his son from the door and slammed the door in our faces, and all you could hear was him screaming at his son. So my mom and I went to walk away before the door opened, and he was like, sorry, my son knows better than to open the door to strangers. So he took the brownies, and then I asked him if I could have a sleepover with one of his daughters, and he was super hesitant at first, but he said that I could only have a sleepover with her if it was at my house and not theirs, which my mom was completely fine with anyways, because she thought that it was a little bit weird that his son had bruises covering his whole body. So that night when she came over to sleep over my house, I asked her how her brother got all those bruises all over his body, and she said that he just fell down some stairs. But after that, we became best friends, and we would literally hang out like 5 times a week, until the one day I knocked on their door to ask if she wanted to come over, and her dad answered the door and said that she was gone. Like for part 3. Part 3 about my super creepy neighbors. So like I said, I became best friends with their daughter, but the one day I went over her house to ask if she wanted to come over, and her dad answered the door and said that she was gone. And when I asked when she would be back, he was like, she went to go live with her mom, so probably never. Which was super weird because she never mentioned that she had another mom. So fast forward 2 months, my family and I are sitting around the fire pit when we hear someone scream help. But we weren't sure if that's what we were actually hearing because it was so quiet, and then all of a sudden we heard someone banging on my neighbor's basement door. You know those metal doors that people usually have outside of their house that lead down basement steps? Yeah, well that's where the banging was coming from. So my dad hopped over the fence to see if that's where the screaming was coming from also. And then not even a minute later, my dad hopped back over the fence, and it looked like he saw a ghost, but he ran inside, called 911. Because I was so young, the only thing my parents told me about that whole situation was that the girl that I was friends with was still alive, and her parents were keeping her in the basement along with 2 of her other siblings. But then we also found out that they weren't even her real parents. They were kidnapped at the hospital when they were born.
My aunt tried to announce her daughter's pregnancy at my baby shower for my rainbow baby. I had posted this originally on Am I the Asshole and had been told that this would fit perfectly here, since my aunt is the entitled parent. My husband and I are finally expecting our rainbow baby after years of infertility and multiple miscarriages. It's safe to say we and our family are very freaking excited. My mom is probably the most excited. She's been planning our baby shower and making decorations for months. She's been the biggest help during this exciting yet scary pregnancy. A few weeks ago, my aunt told my mother and I that my cousin is pregnant. We are very happy for her. However, my aunt said their plan is to announce her pregnancy at my baby shower, since we are having a big party anyways. She said it's not a big deal and we both can share the day. I said absolutely not, because we have been waiting for this day forever, and it should be all about me and my rainbow baby. My mother is on my side and told my aunt that they better not announce anything at the party. My aunt dropped it and nothing else was said. Last Saturday was my baby shower. It was everything I've waited for. Everything is going good. No one has announced my cousin's pregnancy. When it was time for us to eat my cake, my aunt said, hold on everyone, and went outside to her car to grab something. That was the moment I knew something was up. My mother and I follow her outside, and my aunt decided to bring a cake announcing my cousin's pregnancy and some presents for my cousin. My mother immediately told my aunt that she will not be bringing those back into the rec center, and they will not be ruining my day. My aunt started throwing a fit, screaming, "This is a baby shower. It's for babies. Cousin is having a baby too, so this day should be about her too." My cousin now joins the screaming and says how pissed off she is that everything is always about me, and why do we always have to be happy for me? They would not stop screaming, so they were kicked out by the rec center's security, and half our family was upset that I wouldn't let her have a moment at my shower, so they left too. Now everyone is bashing my mother, myself, and Rainbow Baby on Facebook. Group family texts, anything at all. That's what we got. There is an update though. There is an update.
Why are they bashing Rainbow Baby?
What
the hell?
Little Rainbow Baby.
I'm sorry. I would Steve Aoki that cake.
That's what I was thinking.
Steve Aoki the cake.
Fuck,
Bam.
I would've flipped it.
Let me carry that for
flipped
you.
it.
Let me carry that. Bam.
You heard
right in the face.
You heard of a cake smash, bitch? That's what this is.
Yeah. You want a moment? I'll give you a moment. Are you kidding me?
I don't understand the half of the family that walked out. This is just like
Fuck them.
Clearly half the family's fucked. Like
That's wild.
they half them believe this.
Clearly.
So.
When she said announce, I thought she was just going to be like, everyone.
Tap, 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 tap.
Yeah. By the way, not
Oh, fuck.
gifts,
And
a
a cake?
cake. Ma'am.
Crazy.
For the update, some people have asked for an update, and this is the type of update I never wanted to make. I'm truly heartbroken. First off, my beautiful baby girl came into the world 3 weeks early on June 15th.
A Gemini.
We have been so excited and are enjoying every minute of her. She's doing amazing and has already grown so much. Now, the update on my cousin and aunt. On June 16th, the day after my baby girl was born, my cousin texted our family group chat and said she had a miscarriage. I was so sad for her, and despite still being upset with her, I told her if she needed anything to call me and I would be there for her. I spent hours crying for her, with her, and talking her through everything. Her feelings, my feelings, how I was able to cope with multiple miscarriages. She came over a lot, holding on to my baby, crying. I saw a change in her. She seemed so sincere. Well, all caps, my cousin lied. She was never pregnant. Apparently, a few days after her miscarriage, my cousin told her mother, my aunt, that she was loving all the attention she's getting and that she lied about ever being pregnant. She said she can't wait to magically get pregnant with her rainbow baby soon and get even more attention. A few days ago, my aunt made a comment about it to my grandma, and my grandma was very upset. My aunt said not to tell anyone, especially me, since I'd be so dramatic about it. She said it wasn't a big deal and everyone needed their time to shine, aka my cousin's future rainbow baby. Of course, my grandma told everyone, and I am so heartbroken. Now, I really don't know if my aunt did or did not know she lied to begin with. My aunt doesn't even care that she lied, and her behavior afterwards was disgusting, so I'm leaning more towards she knew all along and was in on it. However, we have all, not 100% sure about my grandma, cut ties with my aunt and cousin. I cannot believe someone would stoop so low as to lie about being pregnant, then miscarrying, then having a rainbow baby, all for attention. I can only write so much in a post, so if anyone has any questions or wants more details, I will try my best in the comments. Thank you.
Am I the asshole for not letting my daughter choose the theme for her birthday party? I, 29, am the mother of my daughter Kira. She just turned 6 this past weekend and we had a party with her extended family and friends. Unfortunately, the party was less than her expectations and she hasn't shut up about it, and I'm afraid I might have done something wrong. A few weeks ago, before buying themed invitations and decorations, I asked my daughter what she wanted the party's theme to be so that I could buy the themed invitations and decorations. She said she wanted an Isabella themed party, the name of the minor character in the recent Disney DVD Encanto. I tried to dissuade her from this idea for 2 reasons. Reason 1, which I told her, is that there probably wouldn't be many decorations to buy centered around that character. Reason 2, which I did not tell her, is that I would have intense secondhand embarrassment and surely feel judged by my family who definitely wouldn't be familiar with such an obscure and uncomfortably recent Disney installment. I decided on a compromise, that we'd have a Disney princess themed party with all the princesses rather than just one. Much to my daughter's dismay though, when the decorations arrived, we determined that none of them featured Isabella. She also wanted me to have her at least dress up as Isabella, but Reason 2. Ultimately, Kira was completely unhappy with her Disney party and the guests weren't much happier. Kira's school friend's mom confronted me after asking my daughter why she had been crying the whole time and in short gave me hell for my party planning decisions. My mother, Kira's biological grandmother, offered to throw a party at her own house the next day and she'd buy every Isabella thing she could find at the store on one condition, that she bring my daughter and I don't show up at all. But I declined and kind of faked a seizure to avoid any further attacks because I was just completely exhausted. Everyone left while my daughter's face was covered in cake and tears, but mostly anger. I was just trying to do what was best for both my daughter and myself, but everyone ended up disappointed in me. When I, 37, was 17, I got my then girlfriend, 16, pregnant with twin boys. Her parents didn't want the babies to ruin her future, so they said that I had to either take them or give them up for adoption because she was not raising them. I wanted to give them up, but my parents told me not to. For the first 7 years of my boys' lives, I didn't act like a father and was more like a big brother. They knew I was their father though, we just never bonded like father or sons. When I was ready to move out, I wanted to do it without them, but my dad let me know that it was my responsibility, so I had to take them. I didn't want it at first, but I'm glad it happened. We started bonding as father-sons. I started loving them and their love for me increased. I remember the 3 of us would sit on the couch and watch movies. One would sit on my left and one on my right while I wrapped my arms around them. They'd put their heads on my chest and I often kissed their forehead. We've been doing this since they were 7. I met my current wife 5 years ago. My kids were 15. We married 3 years ago after we welcomed our daughter, 4 female. She saw me doing this with my kids when we watched movies and she never said anything. My kids are no longer living with us because they left for college, but they come to see me every now and then. My boys are 20 and still like to put their heads on my chest while I wrap my arms around them. My son, Liam, visited me 2 weeks ago. He came out to me as gay and introduced me to his boyfriend. I don't care how my kids live their sexuality or who they love. I love them no matter what. I just want them to be happy and I don't feel any different. It doesn't make me feel uncomfortable to hug him or kiss him on the forehead, but it seems that my wife is a little uncomfortable. My son visited visited me again last Wednesday since he was here 2 weeks ago, so the first time officially out, I was watching Red with my daughter. She was on my left. Then my son Liam arrived. He was tired and sat on my right. Put his head on my shoulder while I wrapped my arm around him. Then I kissed him on the forehead and said, "Good to have you back, buddy." We went to sleep, and the next day my wife told me that it made her feel uncomfortable, me hugging and kissing my son, and asked me not to do it again while she doesn't mind me doing it with Lucas, my other son, straight. She doesn't want me to do it with Liam. I told her that she has no business being in my relationship with my sons, and I also called her homophobic. She accused me of not treating her like an equal parent to my sons, thus I said, "That's okay because you're not." My brother says I should understand because this is a big change for her, a son coming out, but seriously, I think there is nothing to get used to. This isn't neither her nor my problem who my son loves. Am I the asshole for not treating my wife like an equal parent by telling her she has no say in the way I bond with my son and also calling her homophobic? My daughter, 16, Megan, just finished her cancer treatment. She's lost her hair in the process and she's been incredibly insecure because of it. She no longer meets friends nor welcomes them at her home nor even meets family in person. It's been bad to say the least, but her stepbrother, Ben, 18, has been making it worse with his nagging comments and jokes about her looks. He tried taking and posting pics of her secretly to share, but I shut that down even though my husband thought it was just harmless teasing. My husband's sister's wedding was last week. The family wanted Megan to go, but she didn't want to. I spent so much time trying to help her and convince her to start socializing again and see family. She agreed under the condition that I let her wear a wig, which I agreed. Not only that, but I took her shopping to pick her own wig, and she looked beautifully stunning in her pixie hairstyle wig. My husband and Ben laughed when they saw it. I don't know why. We went to the wedding and everything was going well till this happened. We were all sitting and we were talking about Megan's look. Suddenly, Ben reached out and pulled her wig and exposed her head. I was shocked. I froze, but Megan yelled and then took her wig and ran. Ben, his cousins, and some guests started laughing. I was upset, especially when I looked over my shoulder and saw my husband sitting next to his mom and laughing. I lost it on Ben and berated him in front of everyone, then took my stuff, got Megan, and got into the car and went home. Ben and my husband didn't have a ride back home, and my husband kept calling me, but I didn't respond. He came home asking me about leaving mid-wedding and upsetting his sister, and then leaving him and Ben without a ride home. I argued with him about how Ben embarrassed Megan and humiliated her publicly, which must have ruined what's left of her self-esteem. He said that it was just kids teasing each other, and that I overreacted and Ben had no malicious intent, he was just messing with her. I said I was sick of it, but he said that this is their way of bonding as step-siblings, and I was getting in the way of it and being overprotective and unreasonable. We didn't talk after that. Ben is refusing to apologize and his dad is backing him up. So am I the asshole for taking my daughter and leaving the wedding after her stepbrother pulled her wig?
Am I the asshole, 30 female, for being upset at my family for giving me baby clothes for my birthday? So I just had a baby a few months ago, and a lot of people have been really generous with buying us baby clothes. I asked my family to stop because we have more than enough clothes. We also get hand-me-downs, but most family insists on buying brand new stuff for us because they don't want my baby wearing just hand-me-downs. So it was my birthday a week ago, and a few family members got me birthday gifts. One family member gave me a huge fancy bag, and inside was all baby stuff. Bibs, clothes, soothers, all stuff I already had and don't need more of. I guess I looked disappointed, so he made a comment about how rude it was not to appreciate a gift. Another family member sheepishly handed me another gift, and it was another effing I love my mom type of onesie. I tried to act thankful, but some family members could tell I was upset. Am I the asshole for being upset at my family for giving me baby clothes for my birthday? Another family member handed me another gift, and it was another effing I love my mom type of onesie. I tried to act thankful, but some family members could tell I was upset. Several people have told me I was ungrateful and selfish and I should just appreciate what I got. But I'm just so upset. I feel like no one cares about me and just my daughter. When I told a friend about this, they said I'm the asshole for being jealous of my child and I should just appreciate all the nice things they got for my baby. It's also just wrong because she already said she had enough baby stuff and she did not want to be wasteful. Am I the asshole for pressing charges against my girlfriend's friend for stealing my doll? I, 26 male, have been with my girlfriend, 26 female, for almost 4 years. Last year, I gave her a key to my house. She spends a few days there, but we don't live together full time. A few days ago, I had to make a quick trip for work, and she asked if she could invite a few friends over to the house. She wanted a girls' night, and I accepted. The first thing I noticed was the rag doll missing from my wall when I returned, and my first instinct was to call my girlfriend. I asked if she put it somewhere else, and she denied and said the doll was there.
Here we go with another toxic best friend story time. So a little background information. So a couple of years ago, I became best friends with this one girl who we're going to call Sammy. Every year her family would go on a camping trip, and every year I couldn't go. Something would always come up even if it was last minute. Well, this year finally nothing was standing in the way so I could go on this freaking camping trip, and we had literally been planning this for like 6 months. So this plan was we would go up there in the afternoon after I was done with work and after she was done with school. Well, then she calls me and she asks me if I can call off work and go up a day early with her. And I told her, no, I can't do that. I already took off a bunch of time because I was sick and for my sister's wedding. So I need the money. So after I tell her I can't go up on Thursday, I would rather go on Friday like we said, she responds with, well, we're going on Thursday and either you can take the day off and join or not. And then I told her I'm not driving when the whole plan was for you to drive, like for part 2 about my extremely toxic best friend. So like I said, she tried to talk me into taking off work so that way we could go up on Thursday, but I told her no, I would rather stick with the plan and go up Friday. And then she says, well, you can do that, but we're all going up on Thursday, so you're gonna have to find your own ride. And then I told her, I'm not driving up there. I don't know this place. So at that point, I was like, fuck it. If they leave without me, they live without me. I do not care at this point. And I pretty much said that. If you want to go without me, then go without me. And she called me and she was like, you're being extremely rude. A little background information on Sammy. She was a super selfish, self-centered person. And she has like only child syndrome. Every time we hung out, we had to do what she wanted to do. I was super annoyed about this because I had already planned for this vacation. Meaning I took the time off work. I rearranged my whole schedule. And now I don't really know if I want to be friends with her. What do you guys think? Story time about how I saw my boyfriend propose to another girl in front of me. So a little background information. At the time, my boyfriend and I had been together for around 4 years. We had 2 kids together, and our relationship was pretty rocky. Within the first year of us dating, he would cheat on me all the time, and both times that I was pregnant, he would cheat on me also. Now, after I popped out the second kid, our relationship was going pretty well. And if you're wondering why I didn't leave him when he was cheating on me all the time, well, it was mainly because I grew up in a broken home. And remembering how hard it was on me whenever my parents broke up, I didn't want that for them. Well, over the past few months, my boyfriend had been traveling all over the country with his dad, going to meetings and stuff because he was getting ready to take over half the company. Well, fast forward, it's a Thursday, and my boyfriend has a meeting with some associates who flew in from out of state. And later that night, we were supposed to get on a flight with our friends to go to the Bahamas. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my boyfriend literally proposed to another girl right in front of me. So like I said, my boyfriend had a meeting with some associates who flew in from out of town. And that night we were supposed to be on a plane to the Bahamas with our friends. So while he was getting ready for this meeting, I went and I dropped the kids off early, and he went to this meeting, and I drove our luggage over to our friend's house because they were just going to drive us to the airport. So my girlfriend and I are super pumped to go on this trip. So we decided to start drinking early, and we went somewhere to get drinks. She suggests this high-end place because the guy at the bar has a crush on her and always gives her free drinks. So we're sitting there having a really good time drinking at the bar. So while we're sitting there, we hear a bunch of clapping and cheering coming from outside. So us being drunk and nosy, we go out there to see what's going on. And what are the chances I walk out there and my boyfriend is down on one knee in front of another girl? And I'm not very confrontational whenever I drink, so I told my best friend to just take me back to her house. When we got back, it was around 6 p.m. And my boyfriend tells me that he's just going to meet us at the airport like for part 3. Part 3 about how my boyfriend proposed to another girl right in front of me. I know this is late, but better late than never. So like I said, we left, I went back to her house, and my boyfriend has the audacity to text me, I'll just meet you guys at the airport. So my best friend's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to go beat him up? Of course I said no, so I told her and her boyfriend to just go to the airport while I figured out what I was going to do, and to not say a word. Which was hard for my best friend because she was confrontational as fuck. So I texted my boyfriend saying that I was sick and I just wasn't going to go to the Bahamas with them, when in reality I was packing up our whole house, leaving him with only his clothes and his shoes. So I put all the stuff in storage and I just decided to move back to my mom's house. And yes, this was in a span of a few days. So the whole time that he was gone, I was acting like everything was okay. On the last day of the trip, I sent him a text saying that I knew about everything. And I said I never wanted to hear from him again and I never wanted him to see the kids again. And he took that quite literally. I never got a text back. Well, 4 months after all this happened, I soon find out that he got a new house in North Carolina with his new wife and they have a daughter on the way. Storytime about how my best friend kissed the guy that I liked right in front of me. So a little background information, I was 14 and in 8th grade. And we're gonna call my best friend Sophia. We were in a friend group of 3. And the other person in our friend group, his name was Josh. And that just happened to be the boy that I really liked. And Sophia knew how much I liked him. Like I would tell her all the time how excited I was, you know, that we were hanging out. And she would be like, oh my god, I'm so happy for you. Like you guys would be so cute. Just a bunch of fake shit. So the one day we're all sitting in our free period, super bored. And our friend Dylan says, hey, why don't we play spin the bottle? With a water bottle, of course. So it was us 4 and a few other kids from our class. Well, Sophia decided to spin the bottle first. And of course, who does it land on? Josh. And I'm sitting back like I have nothing to worry about. My best friend wouldn't do that to me. Well, of course, I was wrong. I thought she was going to apologize, but after she gave me a very smirky smile, well, they started hanging out more and I felt extremely left out. So I just decided to forgive her. Story time about how my best friend and I used to get away with hanging out with boys. So my friend and I's parents were really strict, which meant no hanging out with boys, not even if a parent was there. And we would always come up with these elaborate lies to do stuff that we weren't allowed to do. And we were in high school, so we really wanted to go hang out with one of our guy friends. So we came up with this plan where we would tell them that we were going to a football game because it was a Friday, and that an Uber was coming to pick us up. And there really was no Uber, it was actually just our guy friend coming to pick us up. But since my dad didn't let me go in Ubers, we had to go to my best friend's house. And her parents were fine with it because they loved me and thought that I was the most perfect child on earth. So we get in our Uber and we just go to his house and hang out the whole time. I literally don't even know how we got away with this because it was the same exact car every time and the same exact Uber driver every time. Story time about how I got caught skipping school almost every day of my senior year. So our school had just started this new thing where you fill out all your contact information online. And my dad was like, okay, yeah, just fill yours out. And it pretty much was who can pick you up, who can make early dismissals for you, who they can call if you're in trouble. Well, I decided to be a sneaky little bastard and put my boyfriend in for every single one of those contacts. I would start school around 7:30 a.m. and I would go to the nurse's office at like 9 a.m. and she would call and my boyfriend would act like my dad and be like, okay, yeah, just let her drive home. Well, my guidance counselor noticed after about 3 months of me never being at school. So she called the number hoping to speak to my dad. But instead she got my boyfriend. And he just thought it was a random person, so he didn't act like my dad. Because neither of us knew. Like for part 2. Okay, part 2. Okay, so pretty much what happened after that is she called and like she found out that it wasn't my dad. And then she went digging and like she like called my sister to the office and she was like, what's your dad's phone number? And my sister was like, why? Like, don't you guys have it already? And I also put the same numbers for my sisters so that way in case this day came, then, you know, it wouldn't look suspicious. Well, I don't know what she threatened my sister with, but she scared the hell out of her, so she gave her my dad's number. And so my sister told me whenever she got home, so I went to school the next day. And it was like a surprise party whenever I walked in the office. The dean was there, the principal was there, and my guidance counselor. So I got in trouble and then they were like, oh, we're calling your dad. So what did I do? I left before they called him. Story time about how I caught my grandma with my dad. So a little background information, I was 16 and it was the first day of 11th grade. Well, my friend wanted me to come to the mall with her after school that day. She was like, screw your grandma's birthday, just come to the mall with me. So the plan was I would sneak onto my best friend's bus after school and skip my grandma's birthday. By the way, my grandma was low-key a hoe. Like half of her kids won't even bring their husbands around her because after she got their numbers, she would end up sending nude pictures to them. Anyway, so the end of the day rolls around and I go to my locker to get my book bag when I'm called down to the office. So I go down to the office and my mom is there to pick me up because she said that we needed to do a few things before our grandma's party. Well, my grandma was at our house getting ready and my mom forgot her wallet at home, so when we went back home, I went to go put my book bag in the house. When I walk in and I see my grandma and dad on the couch, and I'm not even gonna say what they were doing, and my mom is walking past them like she didn't see anything. So after that, I called one of my aunts and asked if I could stay with her for a while, and now I don't talk to any of them. Story time about how my boyfriend cheated on me with his best friend's sister. So a little background information, I was 15 and in 9th grade, and we're gonna call my boyfriend Alex. Alex and I had been together for 6 months, and at the beginning of our relationship, his best friend, who we're gonna call Caleb, him and I literally despised each other. But Alex would always want all three of us to hang out, so we decided that we had to get along. So we decided to keep it civil only when we were with Alex. Well, fast forward, all of a sudden, Caleb's grown-ass sister starts hanging out with Caleb and Alex 24/7. And it was weird because she was like a senior hanging out with a freshman. But I didn't think anything of it at first. Well, then out of nowhere, while I was at school, like a week later, Alex says that him and I need to have a talk. So we start walking away from Caleb, and as we're walking away, Caleb looks at me and gives me like this good luck look. Then he told me that he wanted us to take a break. Like for part 2.
We're wandering bodies, stumbling side by side, sharing a bottle on and so all night. We missed the last loop and the bus has gone, so now our only chance is wandering on. I've got you, hey, and you got me, so let's see, hey, where freedom leads, and we'll still hear the birds out singing while both our ears are ringing. No, tonight we're going higher, and it's alright.
Part 2 about how my boyfriend cheated on me with his best friend's sister. So like I said, he tells me that we need to talk, and then he goes, I think we should take a break. Like, what do you mean take a break? Well, funny thing, throughout this whole break, he was still being touchy with me, still acting like we were in a whole ass relationship. And the whole time I was acting like I was fine, so that way I didn't want him to feel bad for me and felt like he had to get back together with me. And he was acting like nothing happened. Like I said, it was getting to the point where all my friends had started asking if him and I were back together. And I had to be like, no, we're not back together yet. Well, then Friday rolls around, aka 2 weeks later, and he tells me that he misses me. Shocker. So then he said he wanted to get back together. I said yes, obviously, because I still really liked him and I was a dumbass not to see the red flags. Well, now that it was second time around of us being together, I started to notice the first flags that I didn't notice in the beginning of our relationship. Like the one time he went to the mall with his friends and he gave these girls his Snapchat. He wasn't going to tell me about it, but then his friends told me, like for part 3. Part 3 about how my boyfriend cheated on me with his best friend's sister. So like I said, I started noticing red flags. Well, when I had confronted him about the Snapchat thing, he told me that he felt bad if he didn't give it to them because he didn't want to be mean. Another red flag is that he would never, ever, 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 ever let me touch his phone. Like if he even saw my eyes look at his phone for 0.2 seconds, he would grab it real quick. Anyways, back to him getting with Caleb's sister. When we had got back together after our break, this one girl came up to me and she was like, hey, I have to tell you something. I didn't think it was going to be anything about my relationship with Alex, but here we go. She goes, he broke up with you to hook up with some other girl. So obviously I'm fuming. I go up to him and I'm like, did you break up with me to go and hook up with another girl? He goes, that's in the past. Why are you mad about it? Like we were broken up. Clearly he thought it was okay just to break up whenever you want to go do shit with someone else. Apparently she said that they could do stuff if we broke up, but I ended up finding out that she does this to all of her little brother's friends.